This is not your typical video on how to design a generic prayer journal. No, instead, what I want to do is that I want to highlight a few points that you might not have thought of before you begin the designing process, especially when it comes to a prayer journal. You want to impact lives, you want to produce something that's going to actually help women out there, then this is the video for you. Not only am I going to share with you one of the best ways to sell your prayer journal, but I'm also going to share a little bit about me, my story, and how my marriage led me to become a woman that prays fervently. Let's get started. When we are thinking about creating a prayer journal, I want you to get really serious. I want you to think about your audience. Who are you doing this for? Is it for single moms? Is it going to be for stay-at-home moms? Is it going to be for moms that work? Is it going to be for teenagers? Is it going to be for adolescent, the tweens, which is before like that, like the teenager years? You can't think of prayer in terms of, I want to create this prayer journal because it can make me this amount of money and, get in that headspace of let's make money, let's make money. Instead, I want you to think about who you're creating it for and what's the purpose. Why are you doing this? And obviously prayer, hello, it's very important in our lives, especially if we're spiritual women, women of God. And if you see me looking down, is because, and I have a pen, is because I have written down certain things to consider before you begin designing your prayer journal. Number one, what type of prayers should we be focusing on? Let me give you an example. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I homeschool my kids. I work from home as a freelance writer. One of the first things that I need to pray for in the beginning of my day is myself, my sanity, my mind, and my marriage, right? The next thing I would need to pray for is for my children, for the day. I need to pray for a day filled with peace, joy, laughter, gratitude. Number two, how often should I fast? Fasting and prayer together, it's a powerhouse, right? The next one is Bible verse. We need to read the scriptures. So in your prayer journal, do you want to include maybe a Bible verse on, one of the pages, or for the day, for the week? Or do you want to just put Bible verse and leave it blank so that your customer can go ahead and fill that in? It's something to consider. The next one, you can add some type of a box where it's like Bible study. And then you also want to think not only in terms of the studying, but reflection. What you think about that Bible verse? What are your thoughts? How can you incorporate the word in your life? Or what did you learn from it? What type of wisdom, nuggets of wisdom did you capture from it? What is your conviction after reading it? Now that we've gone ahead and discussed those critical points that you want to include in your prayer journal, now it's time to design. So go ahead and whatever it is that you can think of, whatever pointers, whatever sections you want to add to your prayer journal, go ahead and just jot it down in a little notebook, some paper, or some Post-its. I do it in Post-its sometimes, and just keep it handy anywhere around you while you're designing the prayer journal. Let's get started in the designing process. The dimensions that I'm going to use, the book size is going to be 8.625 by 11.25. The reason that is because the images or the elements that are going to go into this page are going to extend to the edge of the page. That's called bleed, with bleed. So that way, when I upload, if I decide to upload this specific file onto Amazon KDP, I won't have any issues, or there won't be any errors when they go ahead and check to see if the dimensions and everything is good to go. So now what we're going to do to design, as I showed in the Bible mapping video, you can go ahead and use I believe it's the Magic Media, where you come up with some botanicals or something like that. And I'm going to go ahead and show you what that looks like. Okay, so you go to Magic Media in Canva, and then you can go ahead and ask this AI to produce like a botanical or like flowers. Design a flower background with, give me 1 second, let me see, design a background with, let's say it's pink, purple, and blue flowers or something like that, or purple, yeah, flowers. Okay, let me see what comes up. So we're going to design something, and I can teach you. This is very simple. It's one of the easiest ways to create the front cover of your book. A lot of the books on Amazon, they have a lot of, especially when it comes to like prayer or like journals, there are always flowers. I just saw this one right here. This seems pretty nice. I like the texture. And what you can do, I want to go ahead and show you what you can do. So you can add the title to this page for whatever it is that you want to name your prayer journal. What you want to do is you want to go to elements and you want to search for something like frame, okay? Like a frame. Why? Because one thing that you can do is, for instance, you can use, let's say, you can use any of these frames, for example. Okay, you see this one? You can use this frame here, and you can add an image in the middle. And the reason why this is actually kind of cool for you to do is because you can add texture in the middle. What do I mean by texture? And this can be, let me go ahead and duplicate this page. Let me delete this. You can do it in other shapes too. You can do this, the oval. I kind of like this oval. And then you could change the color of the border. Let's say I'm going to go ahead and change the color to something, you see here where it says photo colors. The cool thing about Canva is that so that you can, that color scheme still remains. It's always going to extract those colors. And when you click on color, like the color option, it's going to show you here it's going to extract what colors you already have here in this background. So that's actually pretty cool because you keep everything looking like it belongs and it's part of a brand. So what you can add in the middle here is the following. You go back to the search bar under elements, right? And you are going to, let's say, purple texture background. Let's click on that purple texture background. Let's see what comes up. I want some texture to this, what I want to add here. Let's see. And as far as texture goes, I mean something like, you can add anything to the middle here. Let me look at this and see how that looks. You see, you can do something like that. And let me change the color to this. Instead of blue, I actually want it to be a different color. I wanted to have that same color scheme, maybe a purple, just like that. I can even, let's see, no, I don't like it lighter, as a matter of fact. I think we can go with something like this, something purple. Perfect. Now, what can you add here? What you want to add is you want to add your prayer journal title, right? So we're going to go ahead and click on text and we're going to just write the word prayer. I love doing what I'm about to do right now is where the word prayer and the word journal have two different fonts, right? So I'm going to click on the fonts and we're going to go ahead and let's say choose like a cursive. Okay, okay, this one. I like this one, right? And the font name is Brittany. So I want to choose this one and then let me just put a little bit to the left. And then I'm going to add another heading, but this one is going to say journal. And I want to leave the word journal. I want to leave it as it is. What I mean by that is I don't want to make it cursive. I actually just want to add, like, just to use a different font, right? Something like this, prayer journal. And then in the middle here, you always want to be specific. You want to make sure that it could be something that you can write down here is, let's say it's 365 days of prayer and connection, something like that, right? And then you want to make sure that you amplify this and it goes in the middle, centered. And then in the bottom, you can add your name or the name of the company. here, right there. I'm just going to go ahead and put my name. You could go ahead and switch the font, use a different font if you'd like. You could use that font that's on where it says the journal, the font that we used for the journal, where it says the word journal. You could use that. And then this one, you can use the cursive that's up there. Something like that. I mean, it could be anything, honestly. And then I could choose this. And then that way it's more cohesive. And then here you can add a little symbol in the middle because it's like empty. So we can go ahead and add, go to elements, and then we can maybe choose a flower, white flower sketch. And then I'm going to click under graphics and maybe choose something like this. Make sure it's white so it stands out. So I can't see it right now. Or it could be even pink, this light pink. And something like this would look really nice. So there you have it. You have your front cover to your prayer journal. You can do something like this. And then here you can add a different texture to this. I'm going to go under elements and I'm going to choose pink texture. And under graphics, I'm going to click on that. And you can really add anything here. I'm going to add this one. It looks like a paper of some sort. And then I'm going to do the same thing. Add prayer, the word prayer. And then the word journal, just duplicate it, bring it down. And you can play around with this and go ahead and design different versions of this prayer journal that you are working on, depending on the age. If it's for like teens, you could do something more along the lines of like stickers, cute stickers and tape and papers, and like make it look like a notebook type of thing, like a school notebook. You can do something like that. So you can go ahead and play around with this as much as possible. I can use this. Whoa, there you go. So I can go ahead and use something like this, maybe change the outline, and you just go ahead and play around with it. We're going to go ahead and start designing the interior pages to your prayer journal. However, there are a couple things that I want you to think about. One of the best ways to sell a journal, especially a prayer journal, is if you have an audience. It could be on TikTok, it could be on Instagram, it could be on YouTube. Whatever it is that you want to sell, don't think in terms of, oh, I want to produce 100 of these and see which one sells. Instead, think about your brand and what you want to create long term. If you have a brand, you have an audience around prayer, or you're a woman of faith and you want to go ahead and market your book to your audience, whether it's women, whether it's kids, or your ministry is with children, whatever the case may be. Think about where you're going to be talking. Where's your presence? Where can people find you? And then you're going to produce this prayer journal and you're going to talk about this prayer journal. One of the best ways to go ahead and sell a prayer journal is by showing up in your platform. Let's say your platform of choice is TikTok. So what you're going to do is you're going to show up on TikTok every single day and you're going to do a 30-day challenge, a 30-day prayer challenge. And you're going to show up in that platform and you're going to journal for 30 days. So every day you're going to open that journal. You're going to make sure that they see that front cover. You're going to open the journal and you're going to journal every single day. Your consistency is not only going to bring eyes to your product, but it's also going to encourage other women to pursue this prayer challenge and engage with you in prayer and journaling and things like that. That's one of the most powerful ways that you can go ahead and sell your prayer journal. If you show up on YouTube and you've been thinking about creating a YouTube channel, go for it. Just turn on the camera and start talking. And I know in the beginning it's going to be a little bit rough. You're going to feel uncomfortable. However, it's one of the best decisions that I've ever made. It has changed my life in ways that I couldn't even imagine. So turn on the camera, start recording. You don't even have to show your face. all they have to do is maybe just record your hands, record yourself writing and praying, and just do a voiceover over that video. It's one of the most powerful ways and the fastest ways that you are going to make a sale with your prayer journal. Just make sure that you are impacting lives and not just producing just another journal just because a guru or someone online is telling you to produce a journal because it's going to make you $5,000 a month. The reality is, it's not going to make you $5,000 a month if you're not actually doing something behind it, if you're not pushing it with ads, or if you're, unless it's like a market that's like super untapped. But in that case, if it's super untapped, then there might not be an audience or demand for that specific product, journal, book, you name it. So let's start designing the interior pages to this journal. Let me go ahead and add a page here. And remember the pointers, the points that we were going over in the beginning of the video where, you know, what prayers should we pray? How often should we fast, or like a fasting section? Those are the things that we're going to include. We're going to keep those things in mind because we're going to add them to that prayer page, and we're going to design based on those pages. So one of the first things we're going to do is we're going to go under elements, and you start creating those spaces. In this case, I'm going to just add that pink to the background. I want to have some color. And if you want some ideas on how to create those spaces, like the prayer spaces and fasting and moments of reflection, you can go over to design and you can go ahead and just type in the word journal, and you're going to get all of these examples. You can even do something like this. Let me just add a page, go here. You can use one of these. Please go ahead and make this design your own. Go ahead and delete the things you do not like. I would delete the whole table, and then I would actually move this up and then just bring it down. And instead of daily journal, I actually kind of like that font, petite formal script. And then I would go back to my notes and what I want to have in my prayer journal, and I would go ahead and start adding that. Now, let's say this prayer journal is for specifically for stay-at-home moms. I would put something like prayer for, I would put something like morning prayer. Morning prayer is extremely important, especially for me. I feel that I can't go on without it. Then I would add another space, okay? I would actually duplicate this. And then aside from morning prayer, I would put something like prayer for, okay, family prayer. And then I would also have another little box here. And then I would put something like gratitude. Why? Because some days are extremely hard. And one of the things that I have realized in my walk of faith is that when I focus on all the things that I am grateful for, and I do this with my kids a lot, is I make sure that we pray, or I start making like a mental list or even like a physical list. You can begin and create a list of all the things that you are grateful for. Like, I'm grateful to be able to see. I'm grateful to be able to breathe, you know, fresh air. I'm grateful to be able to walk. I'm grateful to be able to just go in my car and go with my kids and have a good morning breakfast, whether it's in the house or outside. Or there are so many things to be grateful for that when we direct our minds to focus on those things that God has given us, our perspectives change and we begin to experience joy. And that's exactly what I want to cultivate every single day. I might not be super happy, but I do have joy in my heart. And that's one of the things that I want to emanate to my kids every single day. So this is the first page. And then we're going to go ahead and add another page. I can go ahead and duplicate this, and it doesn't have to be complicated. We can make it this simple. Now here, what I would do for the next things that I would add is, for example, fasting. Fasting routine, or fasting, or purpose for fasting. Purpose for fasting, right? Whatever the case may be. What is the purpose for that fasting? And then not only fasting, let me look at my notes. Okay, so one of the things that we can do here is we can add a Bible verse. Okay, and then it doesn't have to be like just these white spaces. You can add lines and make it a little bit, you know, more, I guess, with more like stickers and make it more vibrant is the word. So Bible verse, and then here we can add something like study section. And then we can add some elements here. For instance, we can add flower sketch. Okay, here you go. I like this one. We can add something like this here to make it a little bit more, you know, just give it a little bit of a flair so it's not so bland. So we can do something like that. So we have the sequence: morning prayer, family prayer, gratitude, purpose for fasting, Bible verse, and then the study section. And then we can add another page. And in this page, let me go ahead and add, actually, this is really pretty. These are actually really nice. I'm going to go ahead and just add a section of just a moment of reflection. What do we want to reflect on? What are we thinking about? And what you can do here is you can just go ahead and add some lines to write, and you're going to have tons pop up. Okay, looks messy. Okay, these look really good, although they're very small. I'm going to go ahead and just expand them, and I'm going to change the color so that we're able to see it. I'm going to make them a little bit smaller, and I think that works. So we can add here, and let me go ahead and duplicate this text, and I'm going to add moment of reflection. Okay, and then something that is cool for you to add, which I don't see a lot of people talking about, is you can include a QR code here. And if you have a YouTube channel, okay, you can develop 30 days of just you going on YouTube with prayers, and you can actually add your link to those videos as a QR code so that people can connect. And let's say, for example, day one, let's say you want to go ahead and make this day one, like this first page, day one, right? And you can go ahead and put the QR code somewhere on this page, maybe make this smaller, put it on the corner so that they can just scan it. If they bought the physical, okay, the physical journal, they can go ahead and add it, scan it, and they can access that video before they begin their prayer, like journaling. So I think that's pretty cool. And then here, if you want more lines, all you have to do is duplicate it and just make sure that you match it really well. And then here, you can add a Bible verse here at the bottom. Let me just go ahead and add here some text. I can do all things in Christ who strengthens me. Something like this. So we can do that. And then just add a different font. And you could do something like this. Just make sure to, if you want to make this extremely purposeful, add that QR code, maybe that QR code to your social media, maybe to your YouTube, Instagram, you name it. And that way they can connect with you. It's something that it just gives it extra value, and it makes your journal extremely unique and authentic. I'm going to go ahead and continue to design interior pages of different types of maybe books, the prayer journal books that are going to come to mind, whether it's for kids and things like that. But while I do this, go ahead and design with me. I'm going to share my experience with marriage and narcissism and what led me to pursue prayer so fervently, so strongly, because it is something that can tear you apart. And if this is something that you've gone through, maybe, you know, prayer is something that you can start doing more just because it is the greatest source of strength that we can tap into, especially when we're struggling in areas such as marriage and, you know, in the home. So let's begin. Going back to when I first initially got married, I did not know what narcissism was at all. As a matter of fact, I used to think that, if you get married in church, then, everything's going to be okay because, this is God ordained. And, you prayed about it. I prayed about my marriage and things like that. So you're thinking that you're doing the right thing and, everything's going to be great because people tell you, at least for me, people would tell me, no, if you get married within the church and if you get married with someone at church, everything's going to be fine. But then shortly after being married, I realized that that's not always the case. When I started, a lot of people, when you think narcissism, you meet someone and you're like, bro, you should have known that was going to be toxic, and the reality is that you don't. You never think in terms of, okay, this person's toxic because they spoke, a certain way that I felt uncomfortable with. No, you don't think, oh my God, this person is toxic if they're showing up at your job with a bunch of flowers and, showering you with attention. You're not going to think like that, right? And in my case, I felt like everything was okay. I'm in the church. My husband is being discipled. We're both, in it together. We're both receiving the same word. We're both going to church every single week, 4 times a week. Everything should be okay. And then when I got married and I started seeing little patterns like denial, like, no, I never did that. Or you're making it in your mind and you start being the gaslighting comes out and you're like, wait a second, this doesn't seem right. Am I going crazy? And you start with the self-doubt and you start doubting yourself. Maybe he didn't say that. The self-doubt starts kicking you in the butt and you start questioning yourself. And then other things start happening like, wait a second, everything's always my fault. Like, it can't be that everything's my fault. But, I know that I did the right thing. Why are they deflecting and telling me that it was me who, made the mistake or, whatever the case may be. So I started seeing little patterns and I'm like, wait a second. After 1 year, I'm like, something is seriously wrong. Like, this can't be right. I'm praying and nothing is changing. He's gaslighting me. Obviously at that time I didn't have that word, but I'm like, he's always denying my reality. He's always saying that he didn't do it. He's so unempathic. He's not recognizing my emotions. He doesn't care about what I think. He's not listening to me. And it's like I was talking to a wall, right? And after some time, I was like, something has to give. I started going on YouTube and I started, just watching different videos, and I came across this video from Dr. Ramani. And I'm like, she started talking about narcissism and it caught my attention because I'm like, wait a second, this sounds a lot familiar. Like what she's saying in the signs to narcissism sounds a lot like what I'm going through, with my husband. And then as she started saying all the signs, like, does he deny your reality? Does he lack empathy? Do you feel like he doesn't understand you? Do you feel like you're talking to a wall? No matter how much you speak, no matter how much you communicate, they just don't get it. And it just feels, I was starting to feel like a sense of like hopelessness. Like no matter what I do, nothing is changing. Like nothing gives. So it's like, am I the problem? So I started going down this whole like, is it me? Am I the problem? Is something wrong with me and who I am? Maybe there is something wrong with me. So I started going down this path of like utter insecurity. Like I was super insecure. I felt like, his needs matter. And when you're in the church, they're telling you that, we have to die to ourselves and we have to serve our husbands and we have to cater to their needs because we die to ourselves and blah, blah, blah. So I'm here thinking, okay, I'm dying to myself. I'm no longer, I'm putting my head down. I'm being a submissive wife and nothing is working. As far as also, I was going through a lot of financial abuse that I did not know was financial abuse at the time. And I couldn't buy things when I wanted to buy them. I always had to ask permission for everything. And I thought that this was normal because they were telling me that this is what a wife, especially me, I was a stay-at-home mom, blah, blah, blah. At the time, it was a year after we were married. Then I got pregnant, whatever, I was a mom. And I had to always ask permission, like, can I buy something? Or can I buy toilet paper? And it was getting really ridiculous. And I felt like, wait, like, this is not normal. This cannot be normal. I'm buying toilet paper, or I'm buying just necessities, like household necessities. And I was like, this is not normal. Like my family, my sisters don't go through this. The other girls in my group, my group were not going through that with their husbands. And I'm like, this is not okay. And I would cry, and I there was a lot of control when it comes to my husband. And I was becoming very isolated, extremely depressed. I was having really negative thought patterns, and I just felt hopeless, right? And then so I started praying even more. I started with intercession, 5 o'clock intercession, right? And it got to the point where I didn't even want to pray anymore. I was like, okay, nothing is working. Nothing is happening. What else do I do? And then there was a period of time where I just stopped praying and I started working on just me. I started working on what I wanted to do, creative projects. I started looking inwardly, and I started thinking about the things that I can do to, not to distract myself, but to keep myself busy, focused on things that would bring me the most joy. And that's exactly what I did. I focused on how I can be joyful, and amid the mess, amid the control and the sense of feeling like I didn't matter and my husband doesn't listen to me, he doesn't understand me, it's like I'm invisible, things like that. So I started praying, but my prayers changed. My prayers were no longer, please change God, change my marriage, help us, blah, blah, blah. It went from that to, God, restore me, protect my heart, give me strength. I started praying differently. And I feel like that made all the difference. Although in my marriage, things were not changing, like there was minimal change. I felt different. I was changing. Something inside of me was beginning to shift and change. And for me, that was huge. That was big. And my kids, at the time, now I had a daughter. I started my YouTube channel and I started talking about what I was going through. And the minute that I started talking about what I was going through and I was sharing that on YouTube, things started changing, because a lot of people started, reaching out and saying, oh my gosh, I'm Christian too, and I'm married to a narcissist. And I was like, wait a second, this is more common than I thought. Like, this is much more common. I thought I was the only one. I thought I was the only one dealing with the gaslighting and the financial abuse and things like that. And when I say these things, I'm thinking to myself, this might sound crazy. Like, the fact that I'm going through this, I'm Christian, and husbands, your husband is in church. Like, why is he like this? Shouldn't he be different? And yes, it's true. But just because your husband goes to church and you go to church doesn't mean that you are completely a devout Christian and you are walking under the authority of God. So it was just insane. So what I started doing is I started just connecting with people, and I started connecting with people and just talking more. And the more I spoke to other people, the more I realized that this is common and I have a purpose. Like, one of the reasons why God is allowing me to go through this is because he's gonna turn this around and make it, so that I can help others, because God uses our pain purposefully so that we can help others, right? And then I started sharing my story even more with just people, random people, and God started putting more people in my life. I started doing Zoom calls with other women, and it was just a beautiful time because I was able to pray with other women, and I felt less alone. I felt like, you know what, I can do this. Like I can still remain married and not be a complete depressed mess, you know? And I felt strengthened, and I was like, you know what? I can do this. My kids need me. I can use this I can turn my pain into poetry. And that's when I started writing my poetry book. I started getting into more of like this whole freelance writing and writing for others, writing for myself. And for me, writing became extremely therapeutic. And the more I was writing, the more I felt like I was releasing this tension, the depression and everything. And then I started doing something else. I started adding to my routine. I started adding a little bit of exercise and just focusing on myself as a woman, especially as a mom, because I realized that it's so easy for us to let ourselves go when we become moms. And it was just something that the exercising, the prayer, the talking to other people, getting outside of myself to help other women was so helpful. And one of the things that I urge you, if you're going through something, as a matter of fact, just designing this like prayer journal, it's extremely therapeutic because your mind is focused on a creative task. And if there is something that I've learned throughout my years of, being married, now it's been 11 years of being married, and things have changed for the glory of God. They have changed for the better. That I've learned that when you start creating a life that you love, you start focusing on your passions, your skills, things begin to shift. You begin to realize that you have potential. You begin to realize that there is strength in you. There is beauty in your pain, that there's so many things that you can do. You begin to focus on the fact that there's more to life than your marriage. Like yes, you're married and you might, be having struggles and things like that. However, there's power in whatever it is that you're going through. You also are a woman, you're a mom, there are other roles that you have to, worry about, that you actually can focus on, shift your focus on other things that are going to make you laugh, shift your eyes onto maybe things that are going to bring you like humor, like comedy shows. Develop a routine that's going to bring the best out of you. Think about all the good things and how you can help others in your community on YouTube. Right now, one of the best things that we can do, there's a lot of people in pain. And if you can create a YouTube channel and there's something that you have overcome and you begin to share it and you begin to share your skills, you'd be surprised how much your life can change and how you can become a much more happier person when you just get outside yourself, get outside your mind and your problems, and just focus on all the beautiful things that you can do that they're not even relevant to your marriage. Like, yes, there's more to life than your problem. And in your case, you might not be struggling in your marriage. You might be struggling in other areas, but guess what? No matter the area, there's a lot more things that there's a lot of other facets in your life that you can be focusing on. Your career, the life that you want to build, the things that you want to do. What are your aspirations? Create a book, write a book about your pain, write a book about your triumphs. I mean, there are so many things that we can do that can help us focus on the beauty in ourselves, the beauty in life, the beauty in our children, our families, and most of all, set our eyes on our wonderful Creator. That's it for the design session. Don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and I will see you on the next video. God bless.